Hi everyone, welcome back. So I have realized lately with all the time that I've been spending on BookTube, Book Talk, and I've also joined quite a few reading groups on Facebook as well, I've come to the realization lately that I'm in the minority when it comes to people who prefer to read on their Kindle or e-device, whatever it may be. And I am here today to make the case for why I love my Kindle so much. I use it every day. It always goes with me when I'm traveling somewhere, even camping. And I know that in general, electronic reading devices tend to get a lot of hate. People say, it's not a real book, it doesn't feel like a book. And I get that, I do. There are times I do prefer to read on a real book, but in general, I do actually do most of my reading on the Kindle. And it's just because I've been getting a lot of questions lately, which is how can you stand to read on an e-device? I also just want to add before we get started that I'm not trying to convince people to switch over to the e-reader. I just want to kind of talk about the pros and cons, I guess, of having a Kindle versus buying all the books in paperback. So that is what this video aims to do. If you prefer paperbacks and hardcovers, I completely get it. There's just nothing quite like the feel of having a real book, having it physically there, being able to turn the pages and touch the paper, and that is the one experience that you will never be able to get with a Kindle. The magic of a book isn't ever going to be replaced by a Kindle, but I think just for me, this is why I love my Kindle and the reasons that it is probably my most prized possession of 2022. So to start off with, not all e-reading devices are created equal. The past few Kindles I've had, I haven't loved. They had some glitchy problems. There was actually two of them. It was the same kind, and it was the last version of the Paperwhite. They both had some glitchy thing where I had to send it back, and Amazon had to send me another one. So when this new one came out, I jumped on this chance to get a new one because the old version just kept glitching out on me. So the one I have now is the 2021 release. It came out last fall of the Kindle Paperwhite. Now, I think the past 4 Kindles I've had have all been Paperwhites, and in 2016 I had a Kindle Voyage. I've had Kindles probably since I was 14. The first Kindle I had was the old ones that had the giant keyboards at the bottom. So I have gone through a lot of Kindles in my life, and I have to say that the 2021 release, this one that I currently have, is one of my very favorites so far, and there has been a lot of complaints I've had with the previous ones, but basically the point I'm trying to make is it does matter what device you have, so make sure you get one that ticks all of your boxes and is going to be something that you're happy with. I just got the base version. I didn't get the signature edition, which there is a signature edition that is more expensive. I just have the original. However, I did buy the one that has no ads, so you can pay a little bit extra to not have the ads on the front covers, because people would always ask, they'd always see the ad on the front and they'd be like, oh, is this what you're reading? And I was like, no, it's just the ad that's on the front cover. So I did buy the one with no ads, which I love. You can change the setting to where it says what book you're reading on the cover, which I like, because now when people ask, I can actually say, yes, this is what I'm reading, in fact. Reason number one that I love my Kindle, and it's completely a practical reason, but I live in a very small apartment and I just don't have room right now for a lot of bookshelves. It doesn't mean that I don't occasionally go out and buy paperback or hardcover books, because I definitely do. I go to Barnes & Noble a lot, but if I bought every book ever I wanted to read in the physical version, I would just not have enough space in my apartment. And so until I have a house one day and hopefully have my own library one day, the Kindle just saves me a lot of space. Number 2, I read in the bath a lot, and I am embarrassed to admit about how many books have gotten damaged because of water. And the newer versions of the Kindles, a lot of them are waterproof, so if I splash this a little bit, it's not the end of the world. It does survive, and I have just found that this is easier to read with in the bath too, because it's really, really light. So to me, it just feels more comfortable almost to read it with one hand, and I don't feel like I'm as likely to drop it because it's just easier to hold in general. And even if I do drop it or it gets wet, it's not going to be damaged, at least it shouldn't be. And I think if it was, hopefully Amazon would do something to help me replace it, because it does claim to be waterproof. And I'm not as likely to take a paperback in there where I know it's no matter how hard I try, it's probably gonna get splashed or water droplets on it somehow. So number 3 is I like to read at night when I'm in bed and my husband is asleep next to me or trying to fall asleep. And so I find that not having to turn on a light is just more convenient because it has a backlight. I know that's a silly reason, like Kindles have been around for so long and it seems like a simple thing. And I know you can buy those book lights that you just clip onto your books. I do own some of those and I just find those so annoying. They're just, the light's never in the right spot and they're always falling off and they always make one side of the book super heavy. And I always get so annoyed with those. So I think that's why I prefer just to have the backlight on the Kindle. And along with this, I guess I'll just say this 2-in-1, because I do read a lot before bed and I'm all curled up and contorted in weird positions in my bed when I'm reading because I'm just trying to be comfy. Reading with one hand is so easy to do with just a little Kindle. I can turn the page with one hand. I'm sure people can do that with paperbacks too. I just can never seem to get quite as comfy when I'm reading a physical book, but that's just me. Next is I travel a lot. It's super convenient for me to be able to take as many books as I want with me without it taking up a ton of space or weight in my baggage. So for me, that's hands down, the Kindle is a quick winner. Another reason that I love my Kindle, and this is for all you clumsy people out there, I am definitely clumsy. No matter how hard I try to keep a paperback in good condition, it's always getting bent and crinkled, and I just feel so sad when I've spent money on this beautiful, gorgeous physical book and then I mess it up, and it just, I can't not. I don't know how people keep their books in such good condition, especially like I said, when I'm traveling or bringing my book with me wherever I go and it gets damaged and it makes me so sad. So I know that's a simple thing, but at least I don't ever have to worry about that with my Kindle. Oh, and I guess I could add that right now I have this case by Amazon. It's like kind of a pink color with a purple, like a lavender hue, and it does say Kindle in the bottom corner. I will admit some of the covers similar to this that they had for the previous generation of Paperwhites, they frayed really easily and I didn't like that at all. This one I have traveled with a lot. It went to England with me this past trip and I am not seeing any fraying so far whatsoever. So if that's something you're worried about, the new version of these for the new Paperwhites that came out in the fall, they seem to be working really great for that. So I just want to throw that out there because I know a lot of people have had problems with these cases from Amazon fraying. Next up on my list, we're getting close to the end, but I just seem to have a problem with instant gratification. When I want a book, I want to start reading it immediately. Normally my TBR isn't too super long, so having a Kindle and just being able to get that book immediately when I want it, or say I'm traveling and I don't have a bookstore nearby, I can just get the book immediately, start reading, and I love that. I know a lot of people will relate to this one. This is probably why a lot of people prefer Kindle, is that you can just automatically have that. I do find, at least with the books I buy, maybe this is not typical, but I just seem to always find a better deal on the Kindle books. It's almost always cheaper than ordering a hardcover when it's a new release. And I always keep an eye on the sales, so I usually get pretty good deals on these books where even the paperback is a little bit more expensive. Plus there's Kindle Unlimited. I don't have that, but a lot of people do and they love it and they use it a lot. So that's another reason that I think a lot of people use their Kindles. The last and one of the final reasons that I love the Kindle is I love that you can download a sample of the book for free. It gives you about 10% of the book, give or take, and you can read it, see if you are into the story, if you like the style of writing, and that saves me from wasting so much money, because there's actually quite a few books where even if the story is interesting, if I don't like the style of writing, I don't usually spend my money to purchase the book. So I always download the sample before I decide if I'm gonna purchase a book or not. So I find that very convenient. Just a few more things about this specific version of the Kindle. So they did try to use more of the device for the screen. This is a 6.8-inch version of the screen. Immediately when I took it out of the box, I could tell a difference, that the screen was so much, it just felt so much bigger than some of the past versions of the Kindle. The only improvement, the only complaint I have about this version is I wish that it had page turn buttons or page turn sensors on the side, because I just don't really like swiping all of the time, which is easy to do one-handed and everything. But that's one thing I miss about my Kindle Voyage, is that it had the little page press sensors on the side. But overall, I use this seriously every day. The battery on it, I only have to charge about once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on how much I've been reading. And so I know a lot of people will complain that they don't want to have to worry about charging one more thing. Totally understand it, but to me, once a week or twice a week, once a week or every 2 weeks is perfectly reasonable. I will link the Kindle that I have down below, as well as the case if anyone wants to pick up a Kindle. One more thing I should add about why I love my Kindle is I love the Kindle trade-in program that Amazon has. So basically, if your Kindle's still in working condition and you want to get the new Kindle that Amazon's coming out with, you can send the old one back and they'll give you a discount off of the new Kindle. I always use that because, like I said, I've gone through a lot of Kindles in my life. So yeah, that is why I love my Kindle so much. I know I'm a freak because I love reading on this, and it's not quite as magical as a real book, but there's a lot of perks, and that's why I always go to my Kindle pretty much. So thank you so much for watching. Feel free to give this a thumbs up if you thought it was helpful, and if you want to subscribe, that would be amazing too. I hope everybody's having a great, safe day, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye!